Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. I will talk about the water situation and the water crisis within Punjab and the related areas, and how the globalist policy is being implemented in Punjab, and the control of natural resources is being used by the central government or a government to control, is being used to control and manipulate political situation and political power within a geographical area. Now, the background to this entire water crisis in Punjab, it's a very long, not a short story. It's been a very prolonged story which have been put into motion a very long time ago. But the background of this story must be understood as to the nature, the political nature of this current situation we find ourselves into. First and foremost, the fundamental policy which is being used or which is being implemented is clear, and that is to use natural resources as a political tool. Natural resources, for first time, not the first time globally, there have been many other attempts made globally, but not to this mass scale, because the number of people involved in this issue goes into tens of millions, and overall effect of this will affect more than 100 million people. And it's been natural resource, which primarily we are talking about is water. So the biggest problem is, we have to understand the water cycle and how the water cycle works within the northern India in itself. So the fundamentals of water cycle are very clear. Clear to understand that water evaporates in the mountain, it rains. Majority of the rainfall happens within the mountains, and the water seeps through the plain, and then it comes and then it evaporates. Evaporation, condensation, perspiration, and the circle goes on and on and on and on and on. Now, as far as the water cycle is concerned, through the ideals of a fake revolution or a color revolution, which was deliberately brought in as a political policy. Now, green revolution within Punjab and surrounding areas, especially in Punjab, was brought in as a political policy for the progression of Punjab, political policy of in betterment of Punjab, progression of in general farming, agriculture, and irrigation, and generally it was sold to Punjab as a revolutionary idea, but in reality it was nothing but that. One of the prime elements of the green revolution, firstly, we are talking, the whole thing we are talking about is the control of natural resources. One of the fundamental elements when we're talking about farming is irrigation, water. And now, one of the biggest problems with water you have, especially within plains, is the natural circle of water. It starts from A, B, and C, and then it evaporates again. Now, the entire Indian government policy has been to centralize the entire, or to control the entire natural resources of India through a single centralized body. So they can control. So what they are trying to do through the green revolutions and all of these fake color revolutions, by using either left or right cover, depending on what government they have at the time. What they're doing, what the fundamental policy is, these natural resources are being weaponized. These natural resources are being weaponized to control political dissent and to implement the fascist theology of Hindutva onto the people of Punjab and the entire Indian Union. Now, how this process works is because through the natural water cycle, Punjab was independent in its capability of producing food and being self-sufficient. Now, this you add to the political demands of Punjab and the surrounding states, it makes food independence made Punjab a very problematic region. Because with food independence, they had economic growth, which they could control. Now, they brought in, through the Green Revolution, the fundamentals of Green Revolution in Punjab brought in multiple difficulties. One was the seeds. Then we had pesticides. Then we had, in general, the poisoning of the soil in Punjab, which has led to many diseases, which has led to the problem where Punjab is now with its agriculture. Agriculture in general, throughout ages, has improved its yield after, say, a couple of decades. But in real terms now, as we are talking today, the yield from last 2 decades has actually fallen in Punjab compared to before, prior to the Green Revolution. So this is the reality. What they are doing is they are patenting, they're copywriting the seeds, so they're controlling. So that's another natural resource which made Punjab independent in its capability of being self-sufficient. So what they have is they have patent seeds. They have copyrighted every single stage of agriculture, and the central government is going to use that, each and every aspects of agriculture, from putting debt on farmers through very expensive machinery. And then we have fertilizer, again controlled by the central government. So the entire process from A to Z, which made that region an independent region, through this through leftist cover and the help of the Indian nationalist, leftist, fascist within India, they used them to bring in this green revolution. And this green revolution had turned a Punjab which was self-sufficient, from capable of sustaining itself, to becoming a dependent state, a state which is dependent entirely onto the political wishes of the central Indian regime. Now, the fundamental idea which the Indian regime wants to push onto the Punjab people, the Sikhs in general, is of Hindutva, of Hindu fascism, fanaticism, hate, complete rejection of normal human values, and push them towards fascism. Hindutva equals fascism. Vedas equals fascism. Manual of fascism. Hitler followed the Vedas. Hindutva equals fascism. Indian nationalism, Hindu fascism are two of the same thing. We carry on with the discussion as we are. So the political ideology of Hindutva, they want to place through this system. So natural resources become a big problem, because it provided an idea within Punjab of self-sufficiency. So this was part of the process of agriculture, which they controlled through the central and politicized, weaponized the entire agriculture system. So one part which was left was water itself. So water cycle can't be stopped. The only way to destroy the natural circle of water is to build dams. Now, hydroelectric dams are a very useful technology if used in a right way. But instead, the Indian regime has weaponized the dams even to control water, natural resources, water. They have used Pakra Dam and the other related dams deliberately to control the flow of water. In doing that, controlling the entire water cycle. So what that has led to is the natural flow of water from the mountains, the Himalayas, to the plains of Punjab has been stopped. And that led to groundwater, which was primarily the drinking water of Punjab, being pumped for irrigation, and which has led to complete depletion of groundwater within Punjab, because the water cycle itself has been broken through the dams themselves. So the fundamental problem which they initiated 20, 30 years, this is prior to 84. These policies were building the dams were prior to 84. So this idea of implementing, weaponizing natural resources to deliberately use against Punjab were prior. So this idea and philosophy of Hindu fanaticism and Indian nationalism being implemented through natural resources, weaponizing natural resources, have been going on prior to 84. And that was merely an outlet when the Indian fascism got to a level which became just we are coming at the moment in time now. So once the natural circle of water is disrupted, we end up in this situation. So fundamentally, the political demand of Punjab today is this so-called current engineered political drama of SYL, or the Saraswati, this mythological river, so-called a river which flows uphill. There is not a single river which follows which defies gravity. So this whole idea of Saraswati doing a circle around India and coming back and ending up in Gujarat is not a viable thing anyway. But what will it lead to is, again, water, the natural resources, would be used as a tool to again flood areas which they want to control politically, which are not voting for extreme fanatic policies of Hindutva, and they would be depleted of their natural resources. In general, water would be used again as a political tool to control politics in a region. And that's what's happening. In Punjab, they're turning Punjab, Haryana, the surrounding areas into a desert. So Punjab becomes dependent on central state aid for their basic needs of food and grain and water. They're making them slaves, dependents forever under the central regime. And secondly, we get in a situation where people who are not voting for Hindutva and the policies of Hindutva surrounding states, they will just flood them using the natural resources of water in Himalayas, being channeled as they please. We must understand the idea of the so-called mythological river and the utter Aryan superior race nonsense of Saraswati and the utter garbage surrounding it. It's mere illusion. The reality of this plan is weaponizing of natural resources to use as a political tool to control dissent. To control dissent against a fascist government which is hell-bound on fascism and genocide. This is the reality. So the only course of action which is needed in that region now is for people, the entire region now. This is not limited to Punjab. This is for the entire region. If you want to have a idea of some sort of an independent voice, some sort of a right to some sort of political rights, you must be able, through your natural basic human rights, God-given rights of a right to drink water without, which is a natural resource, without the government using that against you as a weapon to control dissent and an opposition to the government in itself. So the political demand of the people of that region must be depletion of Bakrak entirely. That is not a hydroelectric dam. That is a political tool which is being used as a weapon against you. This is something which must be understood. Under the guise of fake green revolution, this thing has been bought in, weaponized against you. It is time for the depletion of Bakra Dam and the surrounding dams, and the flow of natural resources and the flow of the natural circle of water to re-engage. And Punjab and its water and its groundwater should replenish within a year or two once the water cycle continues again. Bakra Dam is being used as a tool. It's been weaponized against the people of Punjab. This is something you must understand. This whole idea, we're not going to give water to this guy and we're going to charge money for that guy, it is utter rubbish. You must understand the fundamental political ideology and the idea which the government is implementing on the people. And what should be your political demand? Your political demand should be, firstly, depletion of Bakra and then destruction of Bakra completely. There are other places you could make this dam which doesn't affect the natural water cycle and influence hundreds of millions of people. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.